Jimmy was a good man. I know Marley was a good man. They tried.
How worries stagnates the flow, shuts it down and stagnates it. You know, how anger disperses.
Thank y'all. Let's Jimmy was a low way. Yes, sir. So I want to introduce y'all to the co-pilots on the solar experience. Over here on the left, we are honored to have playing with us tonight the one and only Timothy Ragsdale on bass. To my right, like I said earlier, Caleb Lucky on keys. Still the hardest working man in Philadelphia on drums, Malik Henry. This is our last song for the evening. It's another mashup of Bob Marley and Jimi Hendrix from a project that I did in 2019 called Bobby Hendrix. This one is Crazy Ballhead. Them crazy. We're gonna chase those crazy bald heads out of town. Chase those crazy bald heads out of our town. Taking what we know, reaping what we sow. Try to take over will, but they can't take the flow. No, it's heaven sent. Heaven knows it's sent. Says, Lord, I patience is spent like the rent, and now it's time to go. Yeah. So we build the cabin, that's right. And we plant the corn, yeah. Didn't my people before me slave for this country? Yeah, now they look at us with scorn. Eat up all our corn. We're gonna chase those crazy bald heads. Chase those crazy bump heads out of our town. What we know, reaping what we sow. Try to take over will, but they can't take the flow. No, it's heaven sent. Heaven know what's intense, and Lord, our patience is spent like the rent, and now it's time they go. I build their penitentiaries. We build their schools. Brainwash education to make us the fool. Yeah, hatred, their reward for our love. Telling ourselves that God above, we gonna chase those crazy bump heads. Chase those crazy balls. dance hall. Now I go hard for my whole yard, my people, let's kick. Yeah, I stay squad when they stay fraud and my people gon' win. We got Malcolm, I'm a Harriet Sojourner, that's true. They got imitators of imitators, check history, that's proof. Don't give me no lies, my people staying alive. But you wanna survive, we out here trying to thrive. Telling vampires and vultures, it's time to retreat. Go ahead and fall Babylon, just don't fall back on me. Caleb, talk to him. Timothy Bags in on base, give them what they want.
It ain't where the spirit wants you to go. But we know for a fact, when my mother and father, when your mother and father gave birth to you, they gave birth to themselves. Think about it again. When my mother and father and your mother and father gave birth to you, they gave birth to themselves. Who else could they give birth to but themselves? Because what they had to bring to the table in the birth-giving process was themselves. There was one other thing that they gave birth to. Every ancestor that made up your line that go back to the first ancestor that emanated from the divine. You'll understand that? That's what was given birth to. That's what you are. You are. Every ancestor in your line going back to that first ancestor that was emanation out of the divine. Now, how do we understand that so that we begin to practice that? You know, how do we make spirituality our reality? Right? Some of us, then we can go to work and we can be a banker, or we can be a school teacher, or we can be a doctor, and then we go to church on Sunday, or mosque on Friday, or the Hebrew temple on Saturday, and then find some moment in the week to say you're doing some African spirituality. And somehow, if you wear some traditional clothing, throw on a couple of leques and look real slick with it, that you have made a commitment to what the African sacred science is about. And the African sacred science is the only science of relevance to our survival. All of the other religious institutions are nothing more than, and I said this 30 years ago, fragments from the periphery of the African sacred science system. And given the carnage and genocide over the last few thousand years that they have caused, they're not even good fragments, with no disrespect. But we need to understand, because we're talking about surviving the changing world. And we said surviving in a changing world, even a little tiny word like N-I-N, is a period of time during which an event takes place. Everything has meaning, right? So we're talking about surviving in a period of time. And even the THE, which they call a determinant, it means that it's something that has already been mentioned or something that we have in common. So what do we have in common that's evolving, that's changing? And what we have in common is this thing we call life on this planet. We have that in common. When we're talking about changing, change it makes someone or something different, and it alters the mode of that thing. It replaces something with something else. It substitutes something with something else. And we're going into some changes that if African peoples don't begin to use the ways of our ancestors, the best preserved place that they can be found is in Kemet. That's been the library. That's been the best preservation space for the ways and life of our ancestors. But we can't go about it foolishly and then say Isis is Mary and Aset is Jesus, and what you've done is change the name of a fairy tale, because white folks don't understand who Aset or Asar was. They still don't, and the few that write that have gotten close. They're not people or persons. They've never been a people or persons. We created these anthropomorphic representation of concepts, ideas, and principles that makes the universe work. Okay. I grew up in South Carolina. My mama used to have these little sit-downs at night, and we'd all learn about Burr Rabbit. But when I got older, I knew the Burr Rabbit wasn't a real rabbit going into the candy tree and practicing greed and eating too much candy. His belly was so big he couldn't get out. And so the story that she was telling us was that you must not develop greed.
System scatters the energy and things of that nature. Which organ gets damaged more by anger, by fear, worry, grief, and so on? You see that? Okay, if you tend to be an angry person that puts other people down, make yourself, force yourself to say something kind and do something kind to other people, and you find that it will get rid of your anger management problems. Or that's the branch, of the the rabbit, yeah, it's a little more minute here. The rabbit toning down the tiger and the dragon within you. Because the rabbit is kindness. You see that? The tiger is in your face, stepping into somebody else's, space. And the dragon is expansive, as in draconian. Yes, but the Western man will tell you, well, coming to my anger management course, the Chinese, they say, well, just cultivate peace, or just simply take a deep breath and then chant, dissipate that heat that we call the tiger heat, that we call the dragon heat out of your system. And if you do that, wearing a lot of green like we are today, or should be wearing today, you'll find that it will make you more artistic, more loving, more caring, more elastic, and so on. So you're having problems accomplishing your goals because you have not been taught, or you have been taught you're not using the knowledge of how to put the 11 faculties of your spirit together. One of the most important keys to accomplishing your goals is to not just focus on your personal achievement. Once you learn, a spiritual law on how you can empower yourself to achieve, use it to help somebody else achieve their goals too. What does it look like? I'm going to meditate for 10 minutes every day on my goal using the proper tools, and I'm going to make sure that I meditate for 10 minutes on somebody that I know, friend or family, to help them achieve their goal. When you work to help somebody achieve their goals as you're working for your achievement, you are putting yourself in harmony with the law of oneness with all, the law of Ser. Are you with me? In other words, selflessness, you cannot cultivate selflessness by just simply repeating the idea that it's good to be selfless. You got to put it into practice. Are you with me? You got to put it into practice. If I teach you a spiritual way to heal yourself, you want to heal yourself quickly, use it to help somebody else that you know sick to heal themselves. Because you see, there's only one entity in the universe. Your oneness with God, and nothing can be outside of God. And when you're one with God, then nothing is outside of you. So what you're doing so even if you did something for somebody else and not for you, you're doing for yourself. But it makes you feel better to do something for yourself as well, then do something for you and for something for somebody else. Because lots of people who want to achieve something, they're following the Western Ayn Rand, law, of the rugged individual. This Western will teach you that if you're going to achieve something, you got to pull yourself up by your own bootstrap. No, pull yourself up by pulling somebody else's bootstrap, especially since none of you have a bootstrap because somebody stole it. You're going to run into problems because, most of us don't know and cannot know most of what we need to know. So at some point, you're going to run into this blank wall on how do I do this? Or what should I do? Many of us can't get started with what they should be doing. They start things and it falls apart. They are stuck. They don't know where to turn. And
All right. Got to get that one squeak out the way. All right, all right. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings, everybody. How we doing? All right. I see a lot of, I got an echo. See a lot of folks online. I see you, Michelle, in the webinar room. Brother Nadal, of course. Can you get rid of the echo? Put a one in the chat if you can hear me well. Peace to Lorraine, Kamani, Carlton. Appreciate the fire. Okay, we got Sumai. Yes, it's being recorded, Sumai. Welcome. Carrie Owens, my sister. I know you're excited about comedic legacy. All that we've done in the past, right? And have been. And we have some people on Facebook. Put a 1 in the chat if you're on Facebook and you can hear me well. All right, Peace McKemma. Is that Canada in the house? Ross in California. Peace Janice, Kinsei. You hear an echo. They hear an echo online. Okay, we're working it out, y'all. Trying to do this hybrid thing. We got some people in the house live in Philly. Let them hear you. All right, they're going to be excited later. All right, we got TN on our, not Instagram, our YouTube. We got a YouTube. We got 2 YouTube channels too. If you're on YouTube, put some claps in the chat. Beautiful, beautiful. As soon as we get our echo resolved, we're going to get started. In the meantime, take a look at this beautiful page. We had a powerful event here in Philadelphia. If you were at the event in Philadelphia, let me see some fire. We had some giants here. Dr. James Small was here. Dr. Asante, Malefique Asante was here. Dr. Salim Faraji beamed in for us. Dr. Etta Fields, Kepa Rasheem Sa was here, putting it down. And of course, yes, we had Dr. Akmal Muakil, powerful Qigong and Tuina demonstration and treatments. We had our doctors in the house. People were getting acupuncture, vitamin drips. Yes, my son was there doing his thing with the vegan lifestyle. Not a carboholic, not a grainitarian. And of course, Shechem was there, Raul Nephron and his family. Powerful event. Can we just kill the sound in the room? Would that do it? Okay, 1, 2. I still hear it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. How's that? Is the echo gone? Put a 1 in the chat if the echo's gone. I see you, Shechem Nuamu, with the KPI family. Ma'at Therapeutics is here. Let me know if we're echo free. Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Jose. All right, so I'll use my natural voice in the room. That'll work, right? Y'all can hear me? Beautiful. So let's get it going. All right, all right. Take my therapeutics down while that's up there. Can I hit that? There we go. All right, peace and blessings. Hetapu. So our subject matter is AI. AI is taking over the world, right? AI is going to change everything. Oh, it definitely is. So in thinking about that, I thought, we're not really in charge of that. We're most likely the victims of that. As the great Dr. Claude Anderson says, whenever there's technology, Black people are the ones that suffer because we're the first to be replaced, right? But then I intuited there's another kind of AI, the AI that's going to save us, and that's astrological intelligence. Yeah. Y'all can talk back to me. What y'all think about that? My good brother Ogun says it's ancestral intelligence. I'll go with that too. That's the AI. So we're going to talk about astrology today from the Kemetic traditional African perspective, right? And what intentional astrology is all about. So what we're going to talk about today is for you to have your best year ever. How does that sound? Right? For you to answer the call, the challenges that are in front of us, the dire situations that we see unfolding, you know, the broken dream that used to be the American dream, the movement towards fascism and so on that you see is happening around us. We got to respond, right? And we got to respond with our spirituality. And spirituality doesn't just mean the ability to tolerate evil, the ability to persevere and struggle along, and you know, spirituality is a source of power. Spirituality is the greatest source of liberation, right? The inspiration that we need in order to respond to difficulties and challenges and to prosper in the world. And we hearken ourselves back to our ancient ancestors, the founders of civilization, the Nile Valley civilization, and we look back at that. We study back at that. Why? Because they had the most enduring success that any nation has ever done on the face of the earth. They lasted for thousands of years in prosperity, in wellness, in equality, in stability. We can look back 4,000 years ago and see that many of the problems we're struggling with today, and I'm saying we lightly, but people are struggling with today in this country as to whether women should be heard or not, whether they should be controlled or not. We had women kings. We had women landowners. And most importantly, we had female divinity. Because if the feminine element is not represented in your model of divinity and your understanding of divinity, then I would propose that there's something missing. Maybe that's why we're in a war god culture, right? So astrological intelligence is what we're going to talk about today. And I'm an Angolero. Any Angoleros in the house? Put your hand up in the house if you're an Angolero. If you don't know what that means, that's cool. Let me see if there's any Angoleros in the house. Uh-oh. Carrie, you an Angolero? Okay, now. That's a practitioner of Capoeira Angola. Angola. Beautiful art form. One of our great, you know, developments in this hemisphere was when our African brothers and sisters were captive in Brazil. We brought our African knowledge with us and we formulated our own martial arts system. And in our system of Capoeira Angola, we start every session with a ladainha, and that's like a libation, you know, and it starts out with a praise. So we say, yay, viva me Deus, camarada, meaning live God, live the great God, right? Viva meu mestre, long live my teacher. Que me ensinou, the one who taught me. So before I start anything, I like to give praise to God, and I like to give praise to Ra'u Nefer Amen, the Shechem or Shechem of the Osara Set Society. If you're not familiar with his person, he was with us here in Philadelphia. You can flip back and forth, right? And everything that I'm sharing with you today and everything that I have formulated to try to assist you in the acceleration of your growth and your goals, achievement of your goals, right? That's the promise of today. That's the promise of the system that we put together. It's going to accelerate your growth, your personal growth, your spiritual growth, and it's going to accelerate your ability to accomplish the goals that you have in your life. And I say to you that I'm not the innovator, the creator of this, what I'm sharing with you today. I'm just a decent student who took a lot of notes. I put my notes together. I applied what I could, and I formulated a product that I think is really going to change your life this year if you apply it. As it has changed, it's changed many, many people's lives over the years. And that's a spiritual system we're going to talk about that has a high understanding of astrology, that astrology didn't just start and end with your birth chart, right? So we'll talk about that. But this is my teacher, Shechem Raman Neframan. This is him at this podium last 2 weeks ago, right? 2 weeks ago. And I was supposed to speak about astrology, but we had such a powerful program and we was in such a flow. I didn't want to jump up there and delay things. And I also didn't want to be truncated, right? So it's fortunate we have a full hour and a half, 2 hours today to really get into this subject matter. But he's the founder of the Sarset Society. That's a Pan-African spiritual organization that's now 51, going on 52 years old. He's the CEO of Comedic Legacy Incorporated, which you'll hear about today. He's a world-renowned author, distinguished composer, international lecturer, diviner, counselor, and he is the creator of the course Ma'at 11 Laws Meditation System, which works hand in hand with what we're going to be talking about today. He's also the founder of Comedic Legacy, which you're going to hear about, which is an online platform that we have been working to develop for many, many years, probably for decades. And we finally, over the last year, a lot of investment of time and a lot of money, we have put together our own platform. It's a learning platform, and it's a sharing platform, a revenue sharing platform. Okay, how many of you are have been familiarized with Ma'at, the 11 Laws of Health, Wealth, and Success in our online course? Right, I see you. Okay, great. How about online? Put an M11 in the chat if you're in the course. How has it been for you? Okay, can I get some enthusiasm? Took a lot of work. You got all your mantras in there. You got your meditation scripts. You got the laws, right? It's a lot of material. Okay, I see you M11 people. So we are migrating that from Soundwise. Why? Because we can't pay you for sharing it on Soundwise. And if it's helped you, and you're going to refer other people who want to learn how to meditate, who want to have access to the Comedic Cacao, words of power, and so on, right? Want to know how to get a meditation script and all that. We've devised a system where we're going to be able to now pay a referral or a affiliate. You've heard of affiliate, right? An affiliate out to people. And here's some of the courses that will be offered. We had a lot of people in our winter solstice last year. I think we had about 1,600 people. So we're going to have a winter solstice 2.0 this year. Ma'at 11 Laws is there, and also a new course on manifestation. So we'll talk some more about that. It's also going to be the platform where Shechem and others can publish their books and works, right? And share that, share the profit with the community. So that's powerful. So today we're talking about comedic meditation and 2 products that we have to help you navigate what we're going to discuss, the spiritual work that's going to accelerate your growth and accelerate your ability to accomplish your goals. Whether that goal is your healing, whether that goal is to fix your credit and get your income together, whether that goal is the relationship that went sour or the one that you need to attract, whatever it is that you need to accomplish, whether that goal is to survive the dismantlement of your job, your industry, or whatever that might be taking place, through this new paradigm that we're going to be facing. You need to be able to react in a powerful spiritual way. So these 2 products are a calendar, and you'll see how this ties into astrology, right? Intentional astrology. And we are, by the way, in Heteru cycle. We'll talk about that. And also a journal. And the journal contains an accurate sidereal calendar to schedule your meditations at the most beneficial period of the lunar cycle. We're going to talk about cycles, right? Cycles are the thing that's not talked about, but it's the elephant in every room, right? In fact, we just went through election where they're trying to blame one person for this and one person for that. But there's certain things, there's an ignorance in the Western world about the fact that everything goes up and comes down. Everything. The economy has to expand and then it has to contract. There's no such thing as it's just going to go straight up, straight up, straight up, straight up. So we are overdue, according to, I think it's Kondratiev. If you know that name, put it in the chat. We're way overdue for a serious down cycle. So at least they won't be able to blame a black woman for it when it happens. But they have pumped up the economy and in the world with so much fake money and debt just to kind of keep that away. But you know, it's inevitable. In Taoism, they call it the Tao, right? We call it cycles. That there's a cyclical fluctuation to everything in life, right? So it's more, success is more than I'm just going to use affirmations, I'm going to use truisms, I'm going to do creative visualization, I'm going to chant words of power, I'm going to get some stones and some energy, get my energies together. You know, you have to understand that the most powerful force in life is cycles, right? Mike Tyson proved that the other night. It's cycles. You old. You know what I mean? So something went down, but something else went up if you knew how to nurture it, if you knew how to cultivate it, right? So cycles are powerful, and we use a sidereal calendar. I'll talk to you about that in a second, what that means. In this journal, you have guidance on how to apply each monthly period to the accomplishment of your yearly goals and aspirations. How many people set goals every year? I hope you do. Let me see your hand if you're online. You set goals? Yes, we're going to be shipping to the UK, y'all. We're going to do that through our Committed Legacy affiliate. Put your hand up if you set goals every year. How many of you forget goals? Come on, put your hand. You come on now. You set your goal in December, in January, and in July. You'd be like, oh, yeah, what was that? It happens to all of us, right? We have a tendency to forget because a lot of times we don't have a systematic way of applying our efforts every month to the achievement of our yearly goal. So we lose track of it, or we give up on it, or we don't put enough energy into it, or we forget about it, or we're constantly starting and stopping. And part of that is not understanding the role of cycles. So what you have in this book is the ability to analyze every month what the specific energy of the month has to do with the achievement of your yearly goal. Right? A journaling space, because your growth, we're talking about two things. We're talking about growth and goals. Growth and goals. We need them both, right? We need to hit our goals, but we need to grow. And your growth requires introspection, requires revelations, understanding, and it requires a process that takes the revelations that you receive from your meditations, from your experience, and so on, and incorporates it into your behavior to change the way that you see, look, feel, and act. Does that make sense? If you don't do that, then you wind up making the same mistake again. Or you wind up saying, I should have known, because when I tried that before and this insight came and I forgot about it. Am I making sense? Right? That's why we need a journal. And this process comes with online support. Is that the right? So what does that mean? That means there's other resources. So when you get a journal, you're not just getting the journal, you are, you're going to get other help in understanding how to use it. So let's talk about astrology, right? If we know anything about astrology, we know two things. We know, one, that our talents, our aptitudes, and our personality is definitely influenced by astral forces, right? Anybody that knows astrology knows, oh, this child is a Gemini, this child is a Scorpio, this child is a whatever. And you see the manifestation of that. You see that personality that emerges, that clearly is representing the qualities that are associated with that zodiacal sign, right? Anybody here? We know that's true. And we see that in celebrities and different people. But a lot of times we don't take a moment to really express awe and wonder. Like, what is that? How is that possible? That somebody could take your time of birth, day of birth, place of birth in the world and know something about you and predict things that you'll be strong in and things that you might lack. How is that possible? That's amazing. We got to be like the old scriptures say, like a child sometimes, and just be like, how does that happen? You know, that's the foundation of occult knowledge, esoteric knowledge. Occult, don't be afraid. Occult, 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 occult. It just means hidden. You can't see that. When that child was born and took their first breath, and that astral impression was made on that child's soul, right? That you're calling, oh yeah, that's Sun in Leo, or oh yeah, that's so and so rising sign. You couldn't see that. You can't perceive that directly, right? So that's a hidden or a subtle force that has had an impact on a person that will last throughout their life. That's amazing, right? The problem is in the Western world, we've been dumbed down to the newspaper version of astrology that, we think that that's it. That's who I am. Oh, well, I'm a Gemini, and we get tattoos and we we get all proud. I'm a Scorp, man. You know how Scorps are. we. But the truth of the matter is that influence, that energy that was able to put a stamp on our personality at the time we were born, right, does not stop. That energy continues to have an influence on us. And that energy is vital to our further development and our success. So we're going to talk about the fact that you're not your sign. You're not your sign. You're not your personality. You're dwelling in your personality, like you're dwelling in your body. You're dwelling in a personality or several personalities. The other thing that we know from astrology is that events in the world move in cycles, right? That's a little more advanced, people understanding astrology, right? We talk about what age we're in. We talk about different transits and things that happen that we can tie into events that happen in the world, which is another amazing thing. And if you look back at the Kemetic records, you'll see, the astrological symbol, you'll see symbols of certain types of behavior that are associated with the consciousness, the events of that time, right? And even in the Hindu, right, they talk about the various ages that you go through, right? The so-called yugas. So things move in cycles. Things move in cycles, and astrology, one of the key functions of astrological knowledge, is not about like defining who you are as a person, as much as it is you understanding how the changing landscape of cycles and the energies that prevail, right, are available for you, or to either ride like a surfer, right? I'm a body surfer. I don't mess with them boards. But you can either get smacked down and wiped out by the wave, or you can catch it just right, and it will just take you where you're trying to go, right? So these waves are like energies are like these waves that's coming. And if you have no idea, you just like talk and have a conversation, got your back to the ocean. Yeah, girl, bam, smack, and you get smacked down. You're like, I don't know what happened. I just fell into a bad, things just fell apart. Because you don't understand. You think that everything is just going to stay level in your life. It's not. Everything is moving in waves and cycles. And this is a critical knowledge of astrology, right? And it's not even astrology in itself. It's the knowledge of cycles that in different cultures is represented by different things. So the energy that's changing is not coming from a particular planet. That planet is like the hands on a clock. The clock is not making time move. The clock is just showing us where we are in time. But time itself is a force. So, for example, in the Bazi, which is a Chinese so-called, some people call it astrology, but it doesn't deal with stars at all. It doesn't deal with the planets and the stars, but it deals with the understanding of the pattern of energies and how these energies move in cycles. I had a great birthday party when I turned 60. I don't ever want to have another birthday party after that one. It was so amazing. But that year for me, my 60th year, was amazing. It was the most incredible year in my life. My finances took off. I was able to finally go to Africa and have an incredible trip. 2 different countries in Africa, share that with one of my family members, my community. That was unbelievable. I was able to organize the first ever family reunion for my family, and it coordinated with my mother's 90th birthday, and that happened to be the last time that we would see her all together, and everything just worked out so incredibly, and other things that year. So I was like to my teacher, I said, what was that about? It was like unbelievable. He said, oh, that's the Bazi, every 60 years. That's the repetition of your births in the cycle of 60. I said, oh, I better live to 120. I better live to 120 to experience a year like that again. Right? So cycles are real. They affect us. And it's not, no one culture has a monopoly is what I'm trying to say, right? When we're talking about our year and the 12 months, we talk about our week and the 7 days of the week and how those are the 7 planets, right? Well, they kind of have a 5-day week. And in Kemet, they had multiple calendars. They had calendars for different purposes. And the Tekens, right? That's the needle, right? The obelisk, like the Washington Monument and so forth, right? Why does it have a point? Because it's a big sun and star dial, right? The pyramids, the temples, they were all aligned in a certain way to reveal what time it is, what cycle. So as my man Flavor Flav says, we don't know what time it is. You got to get a big clock. And by the way, while we're talking about astrology, you should know that the Greeks messed up astrology, like they messed up a number of things. And they created a tropical version of astrology, which is off. Don't take my word for it, just look at an ephemeris. And you'll see that Aries 0 degrees Aries does not start on March 21st. So a lot of you all think you're Aries, or you think I thought I was a Scorpio. I'm not, right? My sun sign we're talking about now, right? It's off. It's off like half a sign because the stars are not fixed. They move very slow. 1 degree every 72 years backwards. So after 2,000 years, it's off. So your understanding of like, oh, my personality, you got to check. We use a Vedic sidereal astrology, and that's what's in your calendar. It's a sidereal means the stars, right? So it's based on the actual position of the stars as opposed to the tropics, right? So if we talk about astrology for a minute, what are we talking about? We're talking about a circle in the heavens of 360 degrees, and we have divided in common astrology that circle into 12 different parts, right? And you say, oh, that's occult. You got the 12 tribes of Judah. You got the 12 disciples. Even when the sun that's at the center with his 12 disciples got betrayed, they had to get another disciple. They didn't just keep it at 11. What was that about? Why did you have to get another one after Judas, right? They had to go find another one because the magical circle has 12. Oh, right? So 12 is one of the ways that you divide this. And then there's other forms, other systems of astrology where you go deeper and you might have 28 signs. You might have many, many more subdivisions depending on your degree of sophistication. You're looking at this 360 degree cycle or circle in a certain, you're dividing it up in a certain way to organize your process and your thoughts about it. And there's an understanding that each part of this circle is presided over by an intelligence. And that intelligence, some people refer to as an angel. Look at the word angel and angle. Isn't that interesting? Maybe an angel is just an angle at which you're receiving the light of God. Because there's only one God, right? That's what our ancestors said. Don't get it twisted. We have different depictions of angels, or what we call Neteru, or we talk about Orishas, Obosuma, what have you, but universally Africans understood and were the first to say there's only one supreme being, there's one grand being that is the supreme creator of everything, sustainer of everything, and that supreme being is omnipresent. It's everywhere at the same time. So if there's such a thing as an angel, is the supreme being present in the angel? Yes. And if the supreme being is present in the angel, is the supreme being a passenger or the driver? Oh, and if the angel can free you from jail, like in the Old Testament, right? And work miracles, how can God, who's omnipresent, send an angel? How can God be over there and not over there? How can there even be a sending, a transmission? So if there's a power in an angel, then that power in that angel is God. We're just using a terminology and a symbolism to explain an attribute or an aspect of the one. Does it make sense? Of course, because you're not multiple beings, you're one being, but you have to function in many different areas of your life, and you have to bring a different consciousness to that area. You can't deal as a parent the same way you deal as an employer. That's not going to work. That's a different relationship. You can't be the parent to your employee either. You got to be a lover. You got to be husband, wife, father, mother, sister, employer, employee, student, teacher, healer. You know, you got all these different roles to play. So when I'm addressing you in a particular role to identify that role, then I would use a different term, right? I say, oh, as a father, you would, this is how you got to handle that, right? Somebody give you good advice. Well, as a father, this is how you need to deal with that. Well, as a business owner, this is how you have to think about that. Certain mindset you have to have, certain skill set you have to have, certain approach you have to have for that to work out for you, right? So that's what we're doing in traditional culture, is we're identifying the different functional aspects of the one. We don't worship deities and angels and what have you. So, but let's go back to the book. It says, on the either side of the river was a tree of life, bearing 12 kinds of fruit, yielding its fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. This is Revelations 22:2. In Revelation, the book of Revelations, right? The tree of life is mentioned twice in the Bible. It's mentioned in Genesis at the very beginning, when somebody's hands is trying to be kept off the tree of life, right? They touch the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And then the book says we must stop them before they put their hands on the tree of life. And then at the end of the book, it says, there's the tree of life. And the tree of life bears 12 kinds of fruit every month. Oh, there's a periodicity to this. Every month, there's a different fruit. And what do we use fruit for? To nourish ourselves, right? Fruit is full of vitamins and antioxidants, and it is the God gift to us, right? Is fruit. That's how we nourish ourselves. It's the perfect food made for us. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of nations. So there's something that's happening every month that is available to give you nourishment and to heal you. Available to help you nourish others and to heal others. And that's what in Kemet we refer to as the Paut Neteru, or one of the Paut Neteru. There's different organizations of the different faculties of God, but that's what they are. They're divine faculties. And they rule over spheres of influence, subject matters, right? In the same way that you say, oh, well, this sign, right, relates to, this type of activity, right? Gemini is about technology and information and what have you. And Leo's about, organization management, kingship, rulership, you know what I'm saying? Right? Different areas of life. And that fruit is the nourishment, the knowledge, the wisdom that you need, and the power to be able to manifest things in your life. So in your Kemetic journal and in your calendar, you have the correspondences between the constellations and the Paut Neteru, which the European translates as the company of the gods, right? We understand what that means now. These are not gods to be worshipped. These are aspects of the one supreme being. They are divine intelligences. They are the powers that God has shared with you in making you in its likeness, that you can be nourished and healed, that you can prosper, that you can succeed in your life. These are the powers, divine powers of God. So they are metaphorized, right? There's a metaphor, there's an imagery that's used. And, we have the kind of archaic, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, which doesn't speak very clearly to us as far as the qualities. I mean, some of them, right? Cancer, the crab, doesn't give you the sense of the nourishment of Osset, right? And the caring and the, think of a crab, you're like, different culture maybe, right? So those symbols that represent these different constellations were a means of communication, certain types of qualities or correspondences to help you to understand what is the sum total of the energies that is emanating on the earth when, the clock in the sky is pointing to a given constellation, right? A constellation is made up of many stars. It's a grouping of stars, right? In deeper systems of astrology and higher technology, they deal with even particular stars, the cycles of particular stars. Some of the monuments and temples were made so that when a certain particular star, right, reaches a point, that its light will shine through that temple, right? To indicate that time, the time for that ritual, the time when that power is available to you to use, right? The power, the time when that influence is flooding the earth and is going to have certain ramifications, whether you know it or not. So you're either going to be like trying to figure out what just happened, or you're going to know in advance what happens. And that's what the product of having an ancient civilization that's been around for thousands and thousands of years, right? You've seen things come around. You've seen cycles manifest, right? Cycles of plenty and cycles of, things drying up. Cycles of boom and cycles of bust. And if you look into this subject, you find everything goes by cycles. Birth rate goes by cycles. The amount of minerals you can extract out of a mine goes by cycles. Everything goes by cycles. So I hope you get what I'm saying. What we're talking about is one presentation of a vast subject that's as deep as the deepest mathematics and physics and all of these types. It's not something you just casually converse about and, oh, you got it, right? So this thing that we are talking about with astrology is it's been simplified, right? Another simplification is that we talk about the sun sign, and we identify with the sun sign. So you say, oh, you're born between this time and this time. What are you looking at? You're looking at the sun. That's what's moving. The sun is moving about 1 degree every day, right? So the sun's not actually moving. The Earth's moving around the sun. So it gives the sun an appearance that it's moving through the constellations, right? At about 1 degree every day. So that's the 360 something days a year. You got me? So when you say, oh, April to March and this to that, you're talking about where was the sun when you were born. But the sun is really more about what you're striving to be. The moon is more reflective of your automatic tendencies, especially in the early parts of your life. And if you don't have rites of passage, initiation, spiritual growth and transformation, that early part of your life might last your whole life, because you don't have a system to transcend those behaviors, attitudes, and so on, right? but the moon is moving much faster. So that's a different, thing that you're looking at. So the moon sign, in fact, in Osiris Set, one of the things that Shechem and Shechem did, because we had lost our clan structure through the great Ma'afa, right? In African society and traditional cultures, you are part of a family, but your family is not just your biological family, right? You've heard that before. And some of you might be familiar with the Akan clan system and other systems where there's millions of people that you're related to based on the clan. And this is a powerful mechanism of organizing society, right? To bring that family, just like a lot of stuff happens in family in the West, but it's supposed to be, that family is a sacred place, right? Where you take care of each other and so on. So you extend that attitude out to, many people that are not, the proper way to say it is you've lost track of the blood relation, right? Because we all go back to common wombs. But in the clan structure, you can organize society as one of the mechanisms, right? So he used astrology to organize us as clans. So you'll hear people in our community talking about, I'm in the Haru clan, or I'm in the Set clan, or I'm in not the Set clan. We don't have any of those. I think the Set clan's coming into power, though. But that's based on your moon, right? Your moon position, what we call your clan. So where was the moon when you were born? Some of you might get that information. Now, the principal thing we need to understand here is, as was quoted by several very ancient scholars, the wise person rules their stars. The fool is ruled by them, right? So you're not your personality. You're not these tendencies and energies. It's like your temperament. You might have a more sedentary temperament, that's just the way your energy flows. But the laws of health is not going to forgive you if you don't exercise. If you allow today's comfort push button society to, indulge your sedentary nature, and you're spending most of your day just sitting around, right? The laws of health are not going to be suspended for you, right? So you're not your temperament. You're the consciousness that is dwelling within that body. You're the consciousness that's functioning in that temperament. You are the consciousness that's functioning in the personality, right? So you have the right, the ability, and the need to alter its behavior. And that's where we get into the difference between character and personality. So let's look at the clan sign. I don't know why Harukti dominated this. I just want to throw a few people up here, just as some example, right? So the clan is where the moon was when you were born, right? So it's more complicated than this. This is a simplification. Let me say it again. Astrology is much more complicated than this, right? You got your sun sign, your moon sign, you got your rising sign, your midheaven, the placement of planets in different houses and all that. We're not getting into that in this discussion, right? That's it's not productive. What we're talking about is just a point of reference. And the reason I bring up the clan or your moon sign, right? Your moon position is that we have found over the years that your moon sign is like a point of entry for energy. It's your predisposition magically and psychically. That's one of the reasons we were organized that way, because as coming together as spiritual people, coming together as priests, priestesses, and so on, right? We want people who have the predisposition to certain kind of energies, healing energies or whatever they may be, right? To group together. You follow what I'm saying? But we found that also you'll find that when you enter the cycle of your clan, meaning your moon sign, things happen. For good or for bad, right? A lot of people have some of their greatest challenges when they're in the cycle of their so-called clan or moon sign, right? So just to give you some quick reference, you see both the tyrant dictator, the prosecutor, the boxer, and the powerful leader. We talk about Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, Mike Tyson and Mr. Louis Farrakhan are all Herakahuti mesh, right? In the Herakahuti clan. I don't know why I thought about Tyler Perry, but Sebek, he said his thing is he's very flexible, right? And comedy, right? And a writer. And Kendrick Lamar. What would you say about that brother as a rapper? You'd say he's deep, right? That's Seckert, deep thinker, So if we look at Herakahuti for a minute, this is excerpt from one of your calendars. You'll see here the image of Herakahuti. What is Herakahuti? Herakahuti is an aspect of God. It's an attribute of your personality. It corresponds to energies like Aries, Scorpio, right? Mars, okay? So it's a warrior energy, right? It's a hot, a fiery, dry energy. So we have here on the calendar, you live in the likeness of God when instead of seeking vengeance, you allow the law of reaping what has been sown to automatically restore the balance that has been disturbed, while you hold in your mind thoughts of redemption for the one who's transgressed against you, right? What does that mean? Because there's an energy, there's a force, right? And then there's an intelligence of how do I properly use that force for good, okay? Just like we're here, we're broadcasting, we got this incredible technology, right? If y'all are feeling this, give me some fire online. Let me see you. We're all over the place right now because somebody figured out the laws, starting with basic electricity, right? The principles of electricity. Now, if you open up that wall where the outlet is and, start messing with those wires and sticking your hand in there, you know what can happen, right? You can electrocute yourself. You can set this building on fire, right? So there's a knowledge of how to manipulate and handle that energy properly in order to use it properly. So Herakahuti deals with justice. Herakahuti deals with, the ability to call down justice on yourself, very important, and on others, right? So the law that's helping you out here to be able to contain and manifest that energy properly is to understand that justice is about sowing and reaping, right? What you sow, you're going to reap. Now, it's going to happen in God's time, so don't get it twisted, don't get it confused. You will be here, and you will be back, and you will be here, and you will be back. God's time is very long, right? Your life is like a millisecond of a millisecond in God's eye. How old is God, right? How old is this manifested universe? And this manifested universe, you think you could say how old that is, but something was there before that. So is this just one spot in something much bigger? One out breath, maybe? So we can't clock that like, okay, I was wrong. I'm waiting for the punishment to come to this person. You can't invest your energy that way. What you got to invest your energy in is purifying yourself to make sure that you are constantly sowing the right seed, that you will reap what is correct. And you leave the reaping to others within reason. Of course, you still have the right to defend yourself. If you're in a situation where somebody's trying to take your life, let's not be, foolish about it. But, overall, you're leaving the reaping to the law of God to happen. And you're holding in your mind thoughts of the transgressor being redeemed. Why? Because ultimately, you and the transgressor are one. Ultimately, you are one, right? It's not working out very well for some of those Herakahuti clan members there. I know some of y'all caught that. What's the spiritual function of Herakahuti's power, that energy that we associate with Scorpio and Aries, that in the Kemetic tradition we symbolize through this image of Herakahuti, right? With the head of a hawk. Are we worshiping hawks now? Are we worshiping, some kind of strange gods? This is communication. This is a way to transmit a story that endures over time. It's like I said at Camet Fest, I had a good partner. He told me we need to work like ants and save like squirrels. That he got that from his grandfather. And his grandfather never went into debt because his grandfather lived through the time when the mortgage companies or whatever manipulated things and took everybody's land. So that's where he got that from. He said, yeah, my grandfather said we got to save like squirrels. We got to save like squirrels, right? That's a cold, dead statement. But if I had an image in a shrine of a man with a squirrel's head, you're like, oh, you know, maybe that's what we need. Because most of us don't save money. And most of us don't learn that as a child. So most of us turn around and say, well, I made X amount of dollars every month for the last 5 years. Where did it all go? Because you didn't take some off the top. You didn't pay yourself first. You all know what I'm talking about. But that's just words. That's words in a book. So in ancient culture, they transmit things through ideas. So when you see the head of a hawk on a man, well, what is a hawk? A hawk is a predatory bird that has amazing insight, amazing excite, right? Ability to see. From way up in the sky, it can see a rodent, it can see, and most importantly, it can see a snake. Because hawks are snake killers. And the snake, the serpent within you that keeps you from being fully just and purified is a very subtle beast. That's what the Bible took from that story and said the serpent was the subtlest of all beasts, right? Meaning that to see your own flaws, to see your own stuff is hard, right? And to take it when somebody else points it out, that's harder. So that's what that force, that fire of Herakuti is excellent for. And it shows up in the drive, the passion, the striving for excellence that we see in athletes and warriors and business people and people that are self-motivated and all that type of thing. You get the picture, right? So this is a metaphoric, a pictorial analogy that can be preserved, that can be, enshrined. Wait a minute, you worshiping? No, we're establishing something in your memory, in our cultural practice. That's what enshrinement is about. You see? But somebody came and said, oh, you worship animals and what have you. That's not what this means. So the spiritual function is cutting with negative behavior, habits, and conditionings, sowing the seeds of justice in our lives to reap the protection of the divine law. Because in the Kemetic understanding, God does not punish and God does not reward. God sets up the world based on law, and the law will repercuss against you. You jump out the building, off the top of a building, and you pray, it's not going to stop the law of gravity. If you got a boiling, burning cup of coffee and you pray, it's going to burn your mouth if you don't understand the law of thermodynamics. You follow what I'm saying? So the spiritual world is made up on law, just like the physical world is made up on law. So God doesn't have to personally punish this person and reward this person and so on. And that kind of makes sense, don't it? I mean, you look at what's going on. The power to rise above the transgressions of others and recover from great losses with ironclad persistence. So this is the fruit we're talking about, y'all, right? Herakuti comes twice a year, Herakuti cycle. That energy is in the environment. If that's your clan, especially, there's certain things, you might take a loss, certain things might happen, certain opportunities might present themselves. Or even if it's not, it might be a key reading. That's another thing that we deal with the system, is a divination that will point out these same powers to you and what areas of your life they're in charge of. And we've seen over and over and over again how you might have a divination done, right? And you get a Herakuti reading on something, and it manifests in Herakuti cycle. You've seen this thousands of times happen in people's lives. So this is the key to the calendar. So yes, the power to rise. So now, character is based on living by law. That's why we had the divine law there, right? Character and personality is two different things. Character and personality is two different things. Your character is not in your astrology chart. Your personality is. That's the cards you were dealt. That's your predispositions, your talents, your assets, your deficiencies, your imbalances, your liabilities. But how you play that hand, that's character. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Herakuti, the divine law states that in time we will all reap what we have sown. Herakuti's faculties are spirit. So each cycle comes with this explanation. The drive and determination of martial force that we witness in top competitors is the same force that fuels our rise to be the spiritual champions over the demons within. To truly win at life, we must use Erukuti's drive for excellence to resolutely break with the human and animal stages of evolution. That's a comedic spirituality talking, right? The human and animal stages of evolution, meaning in Kemet, you are a god. You're not a human being. That's your potential. Your human being is a stage of your development, of your evolution. And spirituality is supposed to help you to move from that human animal stage to your divine stage, right? So that's the divine law. Now let's talk about spiritual signatures. Everybody good so far? Every month is spiritual signatures. What does that mean? It means that force that we're talking about, that energy that we're talking about, that we have metaphorized as Herukahuti, as Oset, as Heteru, as Sebek, right? There's an energy behind that. And that energy, just like the energy that helped to formulate your personality when you were born, cannot be seen directly. Like the wind, you can't see it, you can feel it. You can see the effect it has on the trees, but you can't perceive that directly. So the energy of these different parts of the Supreme Being, right, gives off signs. They leave fingerprints. They leave signatures, what we call signatures, right? Meaning this event in my life was signed. So when you have that dream or you have these different things occur in your life, you know that that's the energy that was present making that happen. So you can check yourself with the law, right? Of making sure you're the right, because when that energy comes, it's going to pass through you too. And when it passes through you, it's going to hit the obstructions in your wrong thinking, your wrong emotions, your wrong behaviors, to try to break that up. Does it make sense? So these are some of the correspondences. Mars, Aries, Scorpio, multiples of 11, Tuesdays, red and purple, fire, explosives, wars, conflicts, and so forth, right? And the kind of people that you will find. This is another very interesting aspect of spirituality when you start to really have your eyes open. You'll notice that people, so let's say that I need somebody, in here it says risk-taking business enterprise, or better yet, immune system. You know, I don't know there's something wrong with my immune system or something lacking in my immune system, and somebody who has that expertise brings me that knowledge in Herukuti cycle. Then I recognize, oh, Duanatir, give thanks to God who came as Herukuti, who expressed itself through this person to bring me that knowledge that I needed. Since spirituality, when you're in alignment with the path, whatever you need will either come to you or it's come through you. It all's not going to come to through your own mind, but it'll come through other people. So you'll see them in the signatures. This is very important, right? So, for example, last year's calendar, actually it's 2023 already. Wow. Wow, is that right? Yep. Yeah, that war's been going on for a year. So it was Herukuti cycle when the ground invasion began on the day of the full moon. That's when Israel launched the ground invasion. On the day of the full moon in Herukuti cycle. That doesn't mean Herukuti, the god, sanctioned that. Doesn't mean that. It means that energy, that raw energy of, you know, that martial nature is pushing and empowering you, and depending on how you're going to express that, right? Then you're acting in accordance with that. Oh, y'all remember that bridge collapse in Maryland? Sebek cycle. Sebek is the god, so-called god of the roads. And the connection, the crossroad, the corners, and the god that connects things together. So a bridge is governed by Sebek, right? And also keys are governed by Sebek. So the key bridge collapsed in Sebek cycle. And Google introduced their new AI in Sebek cycle on a Wednesday. They announced it and they called it what? Gemini. Coincidence? So this is what we mean by signature. So let me tell you a little story. Some of you heard it before. You're going to hear it again. It's such an awesome story. So I was working as a salesperson on my many ventures to try to make some money out here in this world without selling my soul, and selling some insurance. And it was a Friday, Hetero's Energy, and I got a lead, right? So a lead in those days, when you call up the insurance company and say you want to get some information about insurance, they would generate this lead here and they give it to somebody like me, right? So here we are on a Friday. Heteru governs water, right? That's Oshun in Yoruba, right? That's the goddess of the waters, the sweet drinkable water, the river. So I get a lead for a guy named Waters, and he lives on Water Street. And Heteru's number is 5. So if you take his address, 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 5 is 14, 1 and 4 is 5. So Heteru's signature was on this conversation. So I went in the house and I said, wow, your name is Errol Waters. You know, you're trying to make conversation, break the ice and all that. I said, man, they named the street after you, man. You must be the man, Mr. Waters on Water Street. He said, you think that's interesting? Check this out. I'm in the water business. What's the water business? What is the water business? So he tells me, he gives me a manual to take with me of how to own and run a water store. I'm like, what is a water store? Water store is a water purification store, huge in California and different parts of the country. It's coming this way. You might want to check this out. I work at one. Here's the manual. Hands it to me. Shows me the system to purify water and all that. She says, but you got to call this guy who's got the equipment. His name is Mike Thames. Isn't there a river called Thames? Yeah, the Thames River, right? So I call Mike Thames. He gives me the breakdown. You know, I did my readings. I'm looking at this situation. I'm like, well, I guess I'm supposed to learn about the water business. I better check this out. How much money I got to raise, blah, blah, blah. So I fly out to California. I meet with Mike Thames, and sure enough, there's a water store on 4 corners of this one street. There was 4 water stores, one on each corner. There's water stores everywhere because water in California was really bad, or at least people knew about it, right? Philadelphia. Did you get the notice this past week?
Yes.
Yeah. Philadelphia Water Department sending out notices saying to you, we can't really guarantee that the pipes in your area going into your house are lead free. So act as if it does have lead. Yeah. So Mike Thames gives me the information. I raise the money. I go out there. I meet with him. I'm going to buy the water system. He says, but you got to have somebody to put it up. I know a guy who can put it together for you. His name is Hudson. I'm laughing. I'm talking to God. I'm saying, you got to be kidding me here. You got to be kidding me. It's just too much, right? The guy's name is Hudson. He's going to put the water system together. So, yep, sure enough, I met Hudson, got the equipment. He came, he installed it, put everything together for me, showed me how to, run the system and everything else. And then along the road, I started to pay attention to things my teacher told us about and learned about the power of water, which, I wasn't really focusing on. Like, wow, this water is really something. It's not just purification of water, So there's this doctor here, Dr. Masaru Emoto, who did these experiments on water. And this is why you should say a prayer before you eat, right? This is when you drink a glass of water, anything you put to your mouth, before you imbibe in it, you should have some positive thoughts, right? Not because you gotta, yes, it's good to thank God that you're eating or able to drink. All that's good. But the science behind it is that your thoughts affect the structure of what it is that you're putting in your body. So Dr. Emoto put waters in a flask and wrote things on the flask. Thank you, wisdom, truth, eternal, angel, I love you, peace, you fool, you make me sick, evil, polluted water before, that's prayer, right? Affecting water that was polluted. And see, with an analysis under the microscope, the crystal structure in the water changed according to what word was written on the flask. What? That's right. So water's deep. So we got into that knowledge. And the other thing that we learned was that many of our illnesses was from dehydration, which is one of the items in your journal for you to track. It's very important that you drink good water and you drink enough water, right? So this is a book by an Indian scientist, Your Body's Many Cries for Water. And I think there's over 200 diseases in there that present themselves, that dehydration presents itself as. Dehydration presents itself as. So what I'm trying to share with you was that, through the power of the Spirit, I was being given a business opportunity that I wasn't looking for. I mean, I was looking for money, but I wasn't looking for this particular business. But the business was more than I could really even conceive of, because besides money, it was in alignment with helping other people, with healing our people, with doing something in the community and what have you. And then New Waters was born. So that's our company. And if you can notice here, we have the words peace, joy, mercy, healing, compassion, love, wisdom, unity on the label that we have printed on our bottles. And we have our, magical pouches on our storage tanks, and we do our meditations. So we know that we are giving our people, when they come in here to get pure water, something more than just water. There's something in that water. There's something good in that water. So that's our system. Some of you may have seen it if you've been here visiting. In Philadelphia, we are the only African-owned water store in the city of Philadelphia. We might be one of only two that are still around because of the great support we've gotten from the community. So I'm talking about signatures, right? So signatures, God is always talking to you. The Spirit is always talking to you, but the problem is we don't know the language. We don't understand the language. We don't know how to interpret the language. Can you turn it off? We don't need heat in here, right? Or am I just fired up? How are we doing on Facebook out there? So you are not the personality. You dwell in the personality and in the Kemetic tradition, the Kemetic spiritual tradition. We're talking today about you having your best year ever. Right? We're talking to you about accelerating your spiritual growth, because in truth, you are not the personality. You are not the body. You are not your sum total of thoughts and habits, conditionings, right? You are the divine consciousness that's dwelling in this person, okay? And every month, there's an attribute of yourself that is there offering you nourishment, offering you healing, right? Towards what? Your completion as a divine being. And in Kemet, we signify that by Oser. Oser. Oser is not a god to be worshipped. Oser is a state of spiritual development to be attained through your work, your spiritual work. And it's hard work, symbolized by that mummification, right? Meaning you got to die 1,000 deaths. You got to die to this conditioning and die to that conditioning and die to this habit and die to that thing and this addiction, right? What happens when you mummify something? It's preserved. It is incorruptible. Incorruptible. So the symbol of this mummified being, and it's presented as a man, but we have historically the record of men and women that have been pronounced Oser, like a title, like you say, Dr. So-and-so. They completed their evolution, their divinity, become holy men and holy women. So that's what this symbolism, this symbolic language is talking about. So your consciousness, you're essentially the seer that cannot be seen. You're the consciousness that's dwelling within the person, that's functioning through the personality, and that's interfacing with life. And you need wisdom and you need powers to do the things you got to do in your life. You got to take care of business. You got to achieve your goals. You got to handle your business, right? But at the same time, you have to understand the interrelationship between your achievement of your goals and your development, your spiritual growth, right? If you achieve your goals without developing yourself, then you'll be spoiled by success, or you'll be haunted by success. You'll be worried about somebody trying to steal what you got. So you're still not happy. You achieved it, and now you got to deal with the jealousy. You see what I'm saying? So the two have to go hand in hand. So the Comedic Meditation Journal is about how to organize yourself throughout the year and your meditations so that you can achieve the spiritual growth lessons that are there for you and at the same time accomplish your goals. And it has to do with your talents and your habits. Let's talk about that for a second, right? Talents, we think, are something you're born with, something innate. And that's true to a degree. But talents can also be cultivated. Talents can be awakened within you, is the proper word, because talents are the properties of God. So when somebody has the natural, quote unquote, natural ability to do something, right? It's the netter that the Greeks call natura, right? That you're using the word natural. You say the natural born talent. It's the netter that's doing that. We don't take credit for that. Say, oh, you're a great speaker, a great organizer, a great, designer, da 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 da. Tim, it's not me. It is God that's functioning through me, right? And you too have that potential within you. Some of them powers is slumbering. We call that latent. And some of them are awake. We call that talent. So this fruit that's available every month is to nourish your talent. You follow? And if you have a challenge, a crossroad, and you're like, oh, because I'm deficient, I don't know how to handle this. I can't. That's God trying to give you the talent, because the talent you take with you. The thing you don't. Let me say that again. The talent you take with you. That's why somebody's born. You say, oh, it's a natural. You worked on that before. You worked on that before. You developed that before. You're here to do something else. You're here to do more with it. But you take the talent that you develop in life. Or you want to get esoteric, you say you open this chakra, or you awaken this orisha, or whatever. That's open within your spirit now. That's been nourished by that fruit, right? Has been nourished within you. So you're going to take that with you. That's part of your evolution. It's part of your development, right? So you can and you must develop talent, because you could have great habits and no talent and not succeed. Isn't that true? But then you could have great talent and bad habits and still mess up, because you have no discipline. You don't drink enough water. You don't do the things you have to do to keep your life force and your chi moving, right? You don't go to sleep on time. You violate the laws of Geb, your physical body, right? The physical environment. You're dwelling inside this physical vehicle, and you have to treat this vehicle the right way to enable it to release all of its energies and powers. You have to cultivate your life force. You got to do breathing exercises, all these type of things, right? So we call that habits. You got good habits. So you need good habits, but you could have the greatest habits and be talentless, and you're still not going to get it, right? So you need both. You can have great talent and bad habits, and you can sabotage yourself. So that's what this journal is about. How do we walk that path of every month? There's something that I need to examine about myself, the way that I function, the way that I operate, that I need to be mindful of, because that energy is predominant. So that's two things. One is an opportunity for me to nourish that talent and to get better in that area of my life. And two, there's an energy that's predominant that is going to hit like, the water's trying to flow through something and come across a blockage because of my poor thinking and my poor habits, and then all of a sudden I'm ill, or I got a problem, or something happened. So if you're ignorant, you might say, oh, Herakahuti did this and Hidaru did that, or, or that might be a good way to kind of like wake people up to the fact that you need to live the law of that deity, right? Of that aspect of God to avoid misfortune. So you got to have both. We need both to succeed. So now we want to get into this how we awaken this talent and how we work on our habits at the same time. So then we're going to talk about the lunar cycle, right? The lunar cycle. The lunar cycle is the foundation of the month. And the month really is not the calendar month that we've been given. That is a industrial calendar to keep us all synchronized in what we're doing. I'll meet you next Tuesday. That's the 7th. Da, 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 da. That's what that's about. But the actual month is the cycle of time that it takes for the moon to go through its transition from new moon to full moon to back to new moon, right? Which takes 29 or so days, right? Why is that important? Because the moon is like a huge magnetic force and it pulls the tides. That's why fishermen and navigators need to know about the cycles of the moon. That's probably the only reason we can look at it on a calendar, right? Is because that knowledge is necessary for you to navigate, for you to understand what's going on with the oceans, because that magnetic pull that starts, at the new moon, and then it peaks between the second quarter and the third quarter, right? I mean, the first quarter and the third quarter, right? It goes new moon, first quarter, full moon, third quarter, right? So that 14-day period is the peak of that magnetic force. And that magnetic force pulls the tides, it pulls the water. And your body's mostly water, your brain's mostly water. So it affects your mentality, your mental world, which is akin to the word for menstruation and the moon. Isn't it interesting that the woman, her menstrual cycle corresponds to the cycle of the moon? Very interesting, right? That's why the moon is depicted as female and that whole lunar energy, right? That's why women are more spiritually in tune for the most part, right? In general, there's exceptions, but they have more water, and their body is naturally going through a cyclical fluctuation every month, which affects their emotions and their psychic abilities and so on, right? So that's what a month is, right? It's a 29-day period. So just in the same way that a woman ovulates, menstruates, and what? This is a cycle of gestation, right? When you can get pregnant. You have a cycle of gestation when you can get pregnant mentally for you to give birth to the things you need to give birth to in your life. And you need to change your mind. We all need to change our mind constantly. We need to tell our mind what we want it to do. We need to tell our feelings, which is the outgrowth of our mind, supported by our thoughts, right? Your feelings are your emotions in conjunction with your belief patterns. You need to tell your feelings what to do. You're not your feelings, and your feelings don't always serve you. You should tell your feelings. I said, at 11 o'clock, put me to bed. Don't tell me you feel like binge watching whatever for 2 more hours. Wake me up in the morning, make me want to jump up and do some qigong and take a walk and get my raw protein and exercise. That's your job. That's what you do. I'm telling you what to do, right? Fill my heart with gratitude instead of me going to work with dark feelings of regret and suspicion and all that, because that's killing me. Even if the people around me are not treating me right or whatever, I don't need you to serve me up that. I can see what's happening with my own eyes. I don't need to feel that. I need to feel positive, powerful, and optimistic, and generate and project that energy onto my environment, attracting me what I need to attract and push what I need out of my way. That's your job, feelings. Because your emotions are what set things in motion. Your emotions is intricately related to your motivation. So when you say, I'm not motivated to work out, I'm not motivated to do this, what you're saying is your emotions are not in line. They're telling you what to do instead of you telling them what to do. So your emotions start a commotion. But your emotions is about motivation and mobilization. Mobilization because you have a psychic power, and the psychic energy is rooted in your same thing you call emotions. Right? So when you master your emotions, then your emotions mobilize things in your life. So the cycle of changing yourself, changing your mind, and commanding your emotions happens on this 20. Oh, yeah. I see you, Larissa. Glad you're with us. You know, it happens on this 29 or so day cycle. You've heard that you need 21 days to create a habit, right? You heard that? 21 days, you do something 21 days in a row. It's much more powerful if those 21 days are between the new moon and the last quarter. Because now you're moving with the Tao. You're moving with the cycle. You're riding the wave now, right? Because your spirit is like, you know, that ovulation thing where your body's saying, okay, you want to make a baby? You want to have a child? I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to receive. I'm ready to be inseminated. That's what your body's saying, right? In those periods of fertility. Well, your spirit is saying that to you every month. And whatever you're thinking about, if you don't take intentional, that's what I'm calling this intentional astrology, right? You don't take in, you're not intentional. So you're just vicariously thinking about this, and I thought I would read this, and I thought I would watch this, and I'm having this conversation, and you know, I'm just flowing with the spirit. You're not flowing with the spirit. You're drifting in the psychic winds of whatever comes your way. You're like a field that's fertile, and whatever weed seeds blow in there and take root, that's what's going to be growing. As opposed to you saying, oh no, wait a minute. No, let's plow the field, let's get all the weeds out of there, and this is what I'm planting this month. This is what I'm planting this month. That's why they call you the soul, right? Your soul in the soil. Because you're the farmer. You got to put the seed in the soil. You got to put the seed in your soul, which is the image of yourself succeeding, and most importantly, succeeding as a divine being, because you deserve it, because you've lived truth. And that makes you deserving, not because you're going to be rewarded, but because you have removed all the obstructions from the blessings, from the energies, from the nourishment of that tree that's there for you to get. So you need 21 days to create a habit. So in your journal, there's a way to track that, right? We teach you how to do a meditation script, and you do your meditation, and you check it off, you check it off, you check it off, right? And it starts with the day of the new moon, not just random any 21 days. So you can get in your mindset, wow, the new moon's here. Let me get myself together. What's my plan? What's my vision? What's my truisms? What prayers am I doing? What visualizations do I have? Right now, you are in charge of your soul. You're cultivating yourself. And you'll see magical results. As the Taoists say, the Tao is easy. It's the line of least resistance. The lunar cycle is the line of least resistance. It's not hard. It's not so hard to change. No, it's not hard to change if you just take control of this process. Then the way is easy. This is a guide to comedic meditation. So let's talk about what meditation is. Meditation is not just a system of relaxation, right? When we say meditation, the word means to center. To center, the medi, the middle, the median, right? Center between what? Between being asleep and being awake. It's a brainwave state that you cultivate, the alpha brainwave state, where you're half asleep, half awake. You're in between. Why do you need that? Because when you're asleep, then you have the power that comes to you from dreams and visions. You can sow seeds within your spirit. You know, you can receive revelations. You can gestate your goals in that womb of your soul, right? When you're awake, then you can control, guide, direct, initiate, and sow the seed. So the goal is not just to bliss out and chill out and relax and just let this, things just go wherever they need to go. Yes, there's certain times, your meditation like that. But the greatest function of meditation is to reconstruct yourself, right, in a divine likeness. The greatest function of meditation is for you to change your mind. It's for you to change your feelings, right? It's for you to implant the behaviors and to nourish on the powers that are available to grow yourself spiritually. So when I say accelerate your growth, it just means that you have a growth attitude now. Every month you're looking at what is Herakahuti about? What is Heteru about? What is Osset about? How does that relate to what I need to achieve in my life? And I'm going to put a meditation together, right? Depending on your degree of sophistication. If you get the Ma'at 11 Laws course, you got the mantra already. That's the sound waves, the vibration that stimulates, that shakes and wakes up that power. You got the knowledge of how to put your script together, what to visualize, and how to place your goals, your mundane goals within that spiritual context. You have all of that. So now you are equipped to be able to make it happen. So the Kemetic meditation uses sound waves, a meditation script, and it coordinates with the lunar cycle. So every month is an opportunity, right, for you to take advantage of what is available in the psychic environment. The Kemetic meditation also stresses making the effort to live the law. We have a great axiom in Kemet. It says, Ma'at, to know truth, you must live it, right? To know truth, you must live it. Meaning that many of these, your attempts to, you're inculcating the law in your spirit, but you kind of feel like nothing's against me. Everybody's against me. Like what? I can name names, departments of what's against me, or pray for the redemption of these. Well, it's not coming easy. But if you make the effort to live it, then you will see. Then your mind will be flooded with wisdom. You'll gain insight. So to know truth, you have to live truth. Not completely. You just got to make the effort to live truth. You're going to fail and fall and stumble. But if you make the effort, then the revelations will come to you. Then you will understand. Right? So that's part of your monthly work, your monthly spiritual work. So I'm simply saying, right, know the law of the cycle. This is Heteru cycle, right? Heteru cycle. Heteru is the power of creative visualization, the power of magic to bring things into your life. And its engine is joy. And joy is your property. It's your prerogative. You don't need an excuse to be joyful. You are joyful to make things happen. You don't need things to happen for you to be joyful. That's backwards. You want to be joyful to make things happen. So that's her law. I'm self-generated joy. God gave me control over my facial muscles. I can smile at will, not because I'm smiling at something. Somebody, you be on the job like, what you so happy about? What you so happy about? What you smiling about? People be, right? Smiling because it makes me powerful. It's going to get me out of here and being with you. I'm smiling. See you today. We won't be having this conversation. No, just playing. So in his wisdom, Shechem gave us this scientific information about the Ebbinghaus curve of forgetting. I'm talking to you right now. You're going to do this? 21 days. You got to do 21 days. Why do you got to do 21 days? Because you're going to forget. Meditation is the memorizer. That's what meditation is, to memorize. And your behaviors are all memories. Our behaviors are memories. Memories are not just facts, information. Where were you born? What's your street? No, when you reacting emotionally to something, that's a memory. You're not in the present. You're reacting based on your previous conditioning that you memorized. Just like if I say, what's 2 times 2? That thought is in your head because a long time ago, you memorized it. So somebody calls you this, somebody did that, somebody didn't do this, and you're feeling a certain way, it's because you memorized that behavior. Right? So it takes 21 days because you forget. This curve is showing you within 20 minutes, you retain 58% of the information. That's wild, right? 1 hour goes by, 44%, 9 hours. By the time a day has passed, you're at 33%. So everything I just told you, you're going to remember 33% of it tomorrow. Even if you write it down, if you don't go back and read it, I got a lot of stuff written down. 6 days, 25%, 31 days. So that's why you got to do it for 21 days, because this is a 21 day. You see this pattern here. You have to repeat. That's what a ritual is, right? It's not mystical. A ritual is the ritualistic repetition of something over and over and over again. You got to do it long enough. You got to do it as many times, right? So you want to track that for 21 days. This is how you're going to accelerate your growth. And when you use a comedic meditation script, you're going to track success to your goals too, because that's part of your script. Your script is a combination of growth and goals. The one is here. It's all up in there, right? You're living the law. You're seeing yourself living the law in the challenging situation. And then at the end, you're seeing the blessing. So you're telling your spirit to go get that, to make that thing happen, to motivate you, right? To move the environment, to bring that to you. You got to do that 21 days in a row. Start at the new moon. So we got samples of the meditation script in here, how to do the meditation script, the full detail of how to write a meditation script, which has levels. There's levels to that, you know. The information is in the Ma'at 11 Laws course. So this is meant to be a companion to that. It gives you a space to put your scripts down, gives you some prompts, right? Gives you a system, reinforcing how you do that. Let's talk about health for a minute. Oh, I left my phone. What did I do with my phone? So health is paramount, right? When we talk about habits, we're talking about the Comedic Meditation Journal here, and it is an attempt to put in your hands, right, something that can be used to hold yourself accountable, right, to record and to systematize a process of your growth and achievement of your goals. And your health is primary to that, right? Your life force, your Ra, what we call Ra, is not the sun. The sun is Aten. Ra is a life force, which the sun is a manifestation of that. And so all the stars and the chi that's in the air that you breathe, according to the Taoist system, right? The chi that you extract from food. So your life force is what runs everything. It's what runs the universe. It's what runs your world. So if you're neglectful of your health, right, your prayers may fail, right? You're neglectful of your health, your meditations, your ability to do certain things is just not likely to happen. It's not going to happen. We got to take care of our health, y'all. So we got a health section in here where you write down, you know, the things that you need to do. And there's several habit trackers here. This is not according to a given month, but it's just like, you know, things that you just need to establish, just need to make happen. Some examples, we talked about hydration. Sleep is another one. Woo, sleep is another one. I meant to bring it, but I don't have it here, and we're running a little behind. There's a book called Why We Sleep. This book is deep, man. I didn't know there's birds that fly across the ocean. They have developed the ability to put one half of their brain to sleep while they're flying, and then they switch. That's how they're able to survive without sleep. But you can't do that. You can't work the night shift and do that. But this book is devastating. One of the most devastating statistics in this book is that there's a spike in heart attacks the day after daylight savings time. And there's a drop in heart attacks the day after daylight savings time. So when it switches and people lose an opportunity to sleep for an hour, heart attacks go up. When they gain an hour, heart attacks go down. It's a direct relationship between the amount of hours you sleep and your predisposition to having a heart attack or stroke. It's deep. I bring that book. If you read that book, man, you be going to bed. You be going to bed. You got to go to bed. You got to get your sleep. And those of you that are students here locally, we're going to be studying the Meditative Oracle system, right? That's your Amen, man. You got that Amen card. That's one of the things that you got to deal with is, are you getting enough sleep? Because every night your body needs to defrag, right? Your body needs to shut down, and your consciousness needs to go back to Amenta to get refreshed. Can't get around it. Your fitness, your supplements, right? Y'all know this. I don't care what kind of diet you're eating. The soil is not the same as even 25 years ago. You got environmental toxins, pollutions, and poisons that's in the air, that's in the waters, in the atmosphere. One of the things with new waters, we're proud to say we use reverse osmosis. Some people say, oh, that's dead water. You can have some live water with some plastic in it if you want. But microplastics were found at the top of the Alps and found at the bottom of the blue hole in the ocean. Microplastics are everywhere. They're in the water you're drinking. You're drinking plastics. Only way to get it out is put it through reverse osmosis membrane. So put the minerals back in it after you do that, but you got to clean your water. So you're being subjected to many toxins, many poisons and things. So it's not enough just to be natural. I'm just going to eat an apple. I'm just going to, you know what I'm saying? This is not the same world where you could just eat well and that's it. You got to get some supplements. You got to get sophisticated with some herbs and chelations and all kind of stuff just to be able to deal with the onslaught. So this is just some things to mention to you. Affirmations, Ra Qigong work, Qi work, envisioning. You know, this is just another mechanism. And one of the things we didn't talk about, but there's something magical still about writing something down with pen and paper. I know that's getting passe, right? I gave a birthday card to one of my son's friends. They couldn't read it because they don't teach cursive anymore, right? And soon just writing is like, who writes? Everybody's, you know. But there's a science called cryptology where they can look at your handwriting, tell what kind of mood you're in. So when you write something down, right, there's an emotional, energetic attachment to what's going on. So if you've gotten out of the habit, you may want to try that, right? You might also find with all your electronic devices and your notes over here, your reminders over there, whatever, you don't have a centralized place for your development, right? That's what the journaling thing is about, you know, because you go back 6 months later, a year later, especially when you went through a certain kind of cycle and learned a lesson, then you're in that cycle again, and you go back and look at what you were doing and what happened and what you said, and you wrote, and you're reading that. There's something powerful that happens with that, right? So every month is a personality evaluation. I think we're running a little behind. Y'all still good? Y'all got chi?
Yeah, true.
Y'all are hanging in there with me. How y'all doing online? Wake up. Turn that YouTube off. Matthew Walker, I don't think that's the one on sleep. I'll find out about that. Okay, so I'm wrapping up. Okay, Ernest is with us. So every month is a personality evaluation section, right? Where you can do a little analysis of yourself. So you have the cycle, right? It tells you when the new moon and the full moon is. And you'll also notice that there are days that there are these numbers on. What is that about? Well, every day of the week is named after a different planet in the system, right? So you see the correspondences there. Tuesday is Herukahuti, Mars, right? Martes in Spanish. Domingo, the dominion of Heru, is on the sun. Mercoles is Wednesday. Mercury, that's Sebek. So how many of y'all knew that? That when you say, I'll meet you next Thursday, that you're planning a meeting on the day of a Jupiterian day, where the energies of Jupiter will be dominant. And then there's 3 or 4 hours, specific hours within that day, where that energy will be maximized. So this is also a little magical journal here, because you have the ability to schedule your meditations and also your meetings, your events, right? We just had a great event. We've been very successful with events. Why? Because I consult a calendar and I do readings. So far so good. You know, we're about 100%. You know, so cycles. So yeah, you might discuss something with somebody on a Tuesday and have an argument, and then later on after this class, right, you go get your app. They got good apps now. You don't have to rely just on this. You can get it for Android or iPhone or whatever. Planetary hours, and you look at your thing and say, "Oh, dang, we was in a Haraguchi cycle on a Tuesday. No wonder we was arguing, fussing, and fighting. Our next meeting, we're gonna do that on a Monday, right? Sets energy in the hour of the moon. That's when we're gonna meet." You know? So, you know, just for your reminder and convenience, whatever cycle it is, that day of the week, I put down for Eastern Standard Time. Now, if you're in another time zone, you got to adjust that. But you can go to planetaryhours.net, planetaryhours.net, or you can get the app, and, you know, get with it, you know. But if I have a big project, then I'm going to meet in the hour of that energy that's dominant on that project on that day, if possible. You don't have to be stiff about it, but it just enhances what you're doing. So here's Heteru personality evaluation as a example, right? And this is Heteru cycle. So we have 2 columns: abilities to cultivate and liabilities to remove. So we have artistic sensibilities, right? Innate appreciation and talent for various forms of art, aesthetic awareness and creativity. So you might say, yeah, you know, I need to be more like that. I'm just, you know, need to cultivate that. Charm and social grace, you know, charming, cheerful, obliging social interactions, ability to make others feel comfortable. Diplomacy, skillful handling of interpersonal relationships. Tact and diplomacy and communication. Magnetism and attractive presence, the ability to draw people towards them. On the negative side, we got relationship struggles, superficiality, lack of self-love, overspending, right? Those kind of things. You might find yourself splurging and spending money for no reason at all, and you don't realize it's just that energy's on you right now. And the next month you get your bill and you're like, hey, it's Haraguchi cycle. I need to cut everything, you know? So this is just a reminder. It's one of the tools for you to just evaluate where you at in terms of what's being served up this month, right? How are you functioning? Number 1, in relationship to the law, the overall law, and then in terms of the personality expression, because that personality expression is what's going to enable you to channel that energy, that power. It's going to help you with your health and the achievement of your goals. So we have some prompts in here. What key spiritual readings? Some of you do spiritual readings, right? You got spiritual readings. So you'll find that things happen. What are the good time cycles to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner? That's more of a health question. One general guideline is you don't want to eat late, right? Interfere with your digestion and your sleep. So as much as you can, you want to eat, you know, and probably eat lighter in the evening. Some people eat breakfast. Some people are more into the feast fast thing. So you got to really look at your own health situation with that. What are my key readings? So you might have a key reading, or as you start to live this lifestyle, you know that your child's incarnation objective reading, your child's destiny reading, your child's marriage or health reading, key reading, right, is coming up in this particular cycle. Well, that's the time for you to do some meditation for your child. As you're working on that, send that child some energy, some insight, you know, plan some time together, all that type of stuff, right? Without saying it, you know that that energy is there for you to use those leaves to heal the nation, right? Use those. So this is what you want to kind of log every month. Like, well, what are the key readings that I have? How can this nectar contribute to the removal of a critical obstacle in my life, and so on, right? So there's a whole system and process here. Again, the most important 7 days, the sacred 7 days is the, here we go, the full moon, and 3 days before and 3 days after. So that's one habit I hope you take away from this, right? If you're a meditator, if you're working on spiritual development, whatever you're doing, as far as your self-care, your own development, learn to identify those 7 days, 3 days before the full moon and 3 days after, and make it sacred. Sacred just means that you're going to schedule yourself to be consistent in your meditation, in your study, whatever it is that you're doing, that you're going to hit that point of receptivity, right? So you can maximize your success. If you're not familiar, this is the Meditative Oracle system. You'll be learning that with us through Comedic Legacy's platform. And you notice there's astrological symbols on the cards that tie into what we've been talking about, these powers. So we did it. We got through all that. All right, Raul. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. We can talk about it. Anybody have a question here?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
What's your name, Baba?
Are we using the, say, the American calendar to track this, or are we using the African calendar?
Well, we're using a sidereal astrology calendar, right? Vedic astrology. America has not produced a calendar. Yeah, you can show him that. And the calendar is in the journal itself as well. So the calendar piece itself is for the wall, right? You know, for you to hang up to remind you and to use as a regular calendar. The journal has the calendar information in it, but it's a diary. It's a journaling book. Okay, so let me put up the link for those of you who need to get one. You got that, Sakara? You got it? Put up the CametaStrologyCalendar.com. Rasata Hetep says, what does redemption of a wrongdoer look like? We may not know when they get redeemed. I think the main point there is not to be in that business. You know, we got to redeem ourselves. We got to make ourselves strong and impenetrable, right? We got to improve our immunity, our spiritual immunity to the many, many wrongdoers and transgressors and people that are evil in this world. And we have to understand that evil is the product of immaturity, right? These are people, and we can identify ourselves as well, that have not matured spiritually. And that's what we're looking at. So that's why the punishment of the person is not really the focus, because, you know, it's like punishing a child for being childish. That's not gonna work out. You gotta create the systems of care and education and guidance that will grow somebody out of their childish and evil ways.
Does God doesn't reward or punish and everything goes by law or blessings and things? Do they exist?
It's a very good question. He said that since God doesn't reward or punish, and everything goes by the law, right? Our blessing's a thing. And yes, the blessing, the primary blessing is that we've been made in a God likeness. The primary blessing is that the resource is available within your spirit. That God is present within your spirit, and the angelic powers of God are present within you. So when you are in harmony with those angelic powers and you're succeeding in your life, then we say, yes, you're blessed. You've been blessed by God. Not in the sense that an individual God has handed you something, but it's like God gave you the keys and the abilities and the knowledge, the ability to know the law and the ability to live the law. And that's how you bless yourself. Yes.
You said that the full moon and 3 days before and after are important.
Mhm.
What about the new moon?
So she's asking a question. I'm sorry, what's your name, sister? Anifa. She's asking a question about the 3 days before and after the new moon. The new moon, the 3 days before the new moon is like the hag moon. It's like the total depletion of the magnetic force of the moon, right? So that's really the time when you're planning and contemplating what you're going to meditate on. And you start the meditation at the new moon. So that as the moon's energy starts to build, your objectives are building with that, right? All right. So we have the, can you put the website up? Okay, the UK wants the calendars. We're going to get it to you. How do we examine our predominant energy? Ida Clay says, predominant energy. You can do your natal chart, if that's what you're talking about, to determine your clan. You're looking for an app that does a sidereal chart, and you look at your moon position. Considering the 11 laws of Ma'at class, this is Janice. Is much of this included in that class, or should I buy the calendar in addition to the class? The class is giving you all the tools, right, for you to be able to execute what we've been talking about. It does not contain the calendar and the journaling workbook and all that type of stuff. All right, that sounds like it. So we're going to close out. We can play that as we exit the journal one. All right, thank you all for being here. Appreciate you. Oh, I didn't talk about comedic legacy. Let's go to comedic legacy real quick. And we're going to put up a link tree, right? For those of you that are not in the Pennsylvania area, we're going to put up a link tree so you can see where we have different locations. This is our website, Comedic Legacy. Our affiliate program is live. That means that if you enjoyed this class and other classes, you want to get the books, courses, like the new course on manifestation, that you're going to be able to do that on Comedic Legacy. And when you share that, you're going to get paid a commission, right? So this is our beautiful website. There's a replay that you were just looking at. If you go to Comedic Legacy, that's KAMITIC, comediclegacy.com. You can get your replay. You can also sign up to be an affiliate. If you're in one of our areas where we have study groups or communities, you want to check with them. So that is comediclegacy.net. All right. Peace and blessings, everyone.
Take that step.
Over the hills, up the mountain, to the top, taking a step. No more spills from the fountain. We won't stop, taking a step. Over the moon, over the sun, we will continue to take that step. Over the moon, over the sun, we will continue to take that step. Made it this far, we have to keep on. No one will stop us, taking a step. Flying to that stop, singing our song, sweep away the dust, taking a step. over the moon, over the sun. We will continue to take that step. Over the moon, over the sun. We will continue to take that step. Higher heights, moving on, stepping on, taking that step. Keep on moving on, stepping up, taking that steps. We will continue. We will continue to take that step. Over the moon, continue.
We will continue
To take that step.
take that step. We're gonna have fun. We will continue to
Taking that step.
feeling brand new, getting it done. We will continue to
Taking that step.
taking our step,
Taking that step.
taking our step.